Okay, I've got 5 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order today, Monday, October 17th, 2022. Roll call, we have Selectman Howdy Goodwin, Eric Eaton, Kenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, Town Manager Jesse Dunbar. Adoption of agenda. There is one thing I would like to add onto the agenda. Can we add an executive session entitled Employee Matters under E, let's just put it E/2, something like that, if that's all right with everybody?
Sure.
Yep. Okay. Do you want to vote on that, Jesse? Or you good? Okay.
You know, the other thing too, I don't know if James plans on staying for the whole meeting, but I just wanted to make sure you're gonna be around. So I just had a question on the Versant easement, that item.
James, will you be around for
If-
part of the meeting, or can you stay on for a
I'd
little?
love to.
Okay.
Okay, that's it, then we don't need to change it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to speak with him for that. Okay.
All right. First thing we have is a public hearing entitled Settlement Agreement between Acadia Wilderness Lodge and concerned Tremont residents. And I think first thing I'll do is kind of turn it over to James maybe and have you summarize what this agreement details, and then we'll open up the public hearing, if that sounds good to you.
I think it's better to turn it over to Zach. He knows the details better
Okay.
than I do.
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, good evening. My name is Zach Brandwine. I'm special counsel of town in these matters, and I'm happy to just summarize briefly how this agreement was arrived at and the basic provisions that it entails. The town has been a party to a series of municipal appeals involving Acadia Wilderness Lodge and some of its developments, and abutting neighbors who have organized themselves as concerned Tremont residents. A little while ago, maybe 6-8 weeks ago, the parties, Acadia Wilderness Lodge, concerned Tremont residents, and the town, because it's a party or was a party in those cases, got together at a mediation, and luckily for everyone, AWL and CTR were able to work out their differences and come to a resolution about their disputes about AWL's developments in town. And as a party to that litigation, the town, if it wants to settle the cases, is required to review and approve the settlement agreement. And I'll just say this about the settlement agreement: it is really not so much a document or a series of agreements that involve the town so much. It is it's a resolution, as I said, between AWL and CTR. The core of that compromise between those two parties is that AWL's new development in town will be reduced from 55 units, as was approved by the planning board back in November of last year, to 45 units. That's not a decision or an agreement that the town was necessarily involved in, but to sort of end all of this litigation so that everybody can move on with their lives, the town is required to also approve the settlement agreement. So that's sort of the core compromise of the settlement agreement. There are some other items in there. The only other thing I'll add about it is because AWL has agreed to, the planning board approval of the original 55 campground development remains in effect, but AWL and CTR, as private parties, can agree to reduce the number of permanent campgrounds that they will build, or that AWL will build, from 55 to 45, and that's what's been done. As a party to this agreement, the town holds the right, but not the obligation, to enforce that restriction. So if AWL were to go and build 46 units instead of 45, the town could, if it chose, enforce the 45 unit restriction and say to AWL, look, you've built one more than is permitted, we're gonna start a land use enforcement action. But the town is not required to do that. It has the right, but not the responsibility, not the obligation. And so it's sort of a benefit to the town that's been built into the settlement agreement, but it doesn't impose anything on the town that requires any action by the town, if it doesn't wish to act. So that's sort of the core set of compromises here. Again, just from my perspective, as the sort of special counsel of the town in this case, I think it's a good thing that AWL and CTR were able to work out their differences and come to a resolution, and it's a good thing for the town to allow this to be put to bed. And I'm happy to answer any specific questions that come up.
Okay. Thanks, Zach.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just want to kind of a couple of things, Zach's excellent presentation there. A couple of things that he alluded to that are important, I think, to the neighbors are a fence along the Corman property. It's a long fence that they're going to cooperate with the neighbors on, and restriction on some parking and access from Kellytown Road. After a while, there will be access from Kellytown Road and no parking over in Kellytown Road, which is good because it makes the commercial nature of the development more on the main drag as opposed to on a residential street. Lastly, I want to say that Zach touched on it a bit, but the planning board and Board of Appeals decisions are not affected. The process, the integrity of the system was upheld.
Okay. Thanks, James. All right. I will open up for comments. Anybody would like to speak? Yes.
Hi, I'm Kenny Hopkins, as many people know, and this is James, we're the owners of Acadia Wilderness Lodge. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you so much to the town of Tremont. You guys have been so patient. This has been a very long process, and CTR and the Lawsons and AWL came together, and we were able to come to an agreement after neighborhood meetings and lots of discussions and talks that we're both happy with, and we'd like to thank the members of the community for attending neighborhood meetings, giving us ideas, expressing your concerns. It helped us to develop a project that we think now works in the town of Tremont. So I just wanted to say again, thank you so much to everybody here, even those that aren't here, everybody who was a part of the process. Again, thank you to the Lawsons and CTR for stepping up to the table with us and coming to this agreement. So.
Thank you.
Yep, and well said,
Yeah.
and CTR, we are in full support of this agreement, and I think both sides came together and made some compromises, and this is a good plan for the town to move forward.
Right, is there any other comments? Yes.
I have a question. I didn't understand the process, so, as it stands, the planning board, approved it at 55 years. And then it was appealed within the legal requirement for it to be appealed. Now it's sitting in front of a judge. What's gonna happen? Does the campground have to go back to the planning board for a new permit?
No, I believe they don't. Can you hear that, James? I'm not sure if you guys can hear him in the back.
Yeah, we can hear him, and the
Okay.
answer is no. There are some, the normal permitting process. As per usual, when you get a planning board approval, then you have to go to the code enforcement officer to actually build something. Zach, I don't think we have to go anywhere, so it's not like a remand and a remand back. I think they go ahead and apply for the permit.
That's correct, and I'm happy to address this. It's a bit of inside baseball in terms of the legal procedure here, but the case that was referenced, the approval, well, let me start all the way from the beginning just for clarity's sake. The planning board back in November of last year approved a site plan for AWL's second campground, 55 units. That approval was appealed by CTR to the Board of Appeals. The Board of Appeals overturned the planning board decision, sent it back to the planning board for further fact-finding on several issues. AWL then appealed the the Board of Appeals reversal and remand to the Maine Superior Court, the Maine Business and Consumer Court. The outcome of that case is that the original planning board decision will remain in full force and effect, subject to this private restriction between the parties from 55 units to 45 units. The reason that sort of happens like that is because on appeal to the Maine Superior Court, the Superior Court doesn't actually review the Board of Appeals decision. The Superior Court looks directly at the planning board decision to determine whether the planning board was right or wrong in the first instance. And so in that way, the Board of Appeals decision didn't really factor in to the procedure, given sort of where the appeal was at before the Maine Superior Court. So again, that original planning board decision remains in full force and effect. That's because it was on appeal to the Maine Superior Court and subject to the restriction from the 55 units to 45 units.
But
And that's all in regard to AOL number 2. In regard to the first appeal, the consent agreement stands in place, and that one is dismissed.
yeah, but the permit right now allows for 55 units to be built. And you just said the town has the right, but is not required to enforce that.
Can you guys hear? I just wanna be sure that you're hearing, James. Yep, okay. Yep.
The permit has been issued.
Yeah, and so, but the town will have the right, but not the obligation to do in the settlement agreement as AWL has agreed to build only 45 to 55 units. If AWL were to build more than 45 units, the town could, if it chose, enforce that restriction at 45 units, but it's not obligated to. It doesn't have to. It can sort of take a pass and say, look, this isn't our concern anymore. CTR can enforce this restriction if it wants. So again, it has the right to enforce the private restriction that reduces the number of permitted campgrounds from 55 to 45, but it's not obligated to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, any more questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 5:15. All right, I think we need to have a motion if you guys, if someone would like to.
I make a motion to approve and sign the settlement agreement reached between Acadia Wilderness Lodge and concerned Tremont residents.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve and sign the settlement agreement reached between Acadia Wilderness Lodge and concerned Tremont residents. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Next, we have the approval.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Where else there?
And James, you're gonna stand by for just a second? And actually, I might be able to, I was gonna say, can I move that up, Jesse? I'll move James, under regular business, I'll move B and A around so that we can get to B first, which is what Kevin had a question on, the person, power easement.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, approval of minutes. We have the minutes from October 3rd, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 3rd, 2022.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from October 3rd, 2022. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, warrants. We have warrant 33 for $10,762.32. 34 for $8,743.98. 35 for $173,794.32. 36 for $37,692.99.
I'll make a motion to approve warrants 33 through 36.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve warrants 33 through 36. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, next we have financial reports. That is you, Mr. Jesse.
These reports are as of September 30th, 2022, which is 25% of the way through the fiscal year. Under revenues, in September, we collected $2,333,055 in property taxes. Total collections for the year are at 90.25% of budget. This remains ahead of pace for FY22 and continues to outpace all of the recent years. We also collected $37,208 in motor vehicle excise tax, resulting in total collections of 29.76% of what was budgeted. And this is ahead of pace from this point last year, as well as all other years, with the exception of FY24. In the wharf fund, we received $12,245 in use permits and $1,000 in wharf garage rent. In the harbor fund, we received $1,120 in transient float rental and the $2,000 payment from Swans Island for their float rental at the ferry terminal. In the Seal Cove fund, we received $600 in use fees and a $2,500 marine products fee. Under expenses, the administration cost center is currently at 27% of the budgeted amount for FY23. Some notable expenses in September included $331 in office equipment, $1,450 in membership dues, $557 in telephone, $1,209 in manager training, $12,550 in attorney's fees, $864 in computer replacement, and $2,016 in abatements. In the protection line, you'll see $9,855 for law enforcement coverage, as well as $67,375 for the first half of the fire department's annual request. In the public works cost center, we're currently running at 15.94% of budget. Some notable expenses in September include $2,597 in repairs to Cape Road, $1,211 in repair parts, $922 in supplies, and $2,499 in small equipment purchases that included a new air compressor replacement in the garage, a new backpack blower, and a new pole saw. In the general ledger, we received $12,560 in revenue sharing from the state in September, bringing our total to $40,320, which is 31% of what was budgeted for the year. We also had the expense of $20,000 to the Seal Cove Fishway from the Fishway Reserve. Otherwise, there are no significant changes to the general reserve accounts.
I make a motion to accept the July 2022 through September 2022 financial reports.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to accept the July 2022 through September 2022 financial reports. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, next we're gonna swap around again A and B, so we'll go to the Versant Power easement. No, I don't know if anybody needs to see Jesse has a blown up land survey here that will, so you can actually read this last page is not very easy to see.
Rather small.
I know we've talked about this a few other times. Anything you want to add to it, Jesse, besides before we?
No, the only thing that we can add now that we have the plans is that it appears that our portion of the land where the entrance to the solar array is, where the ice skating rink was, seems to be smaller than what we previously thought. The driveway is a fair distance onto the neighbor's land than what it looks just going by.
But we have a right of way for that driveway.
Yeah, we're right of way
Yep.
for the driveway.
I know. I think that my opinion on it, like I said last time, was that we have some ideas for what we're gonna do with that property. I think I wouldn't feel comfortable giving an easement right now, especially with, it's kind of wishy-washy there on that line.
I kind of wanted to ask James, that was what I wanted to ask you
Okay.
about. You can hear me okay, James, right?
Very fine.
Okay, that easement area number 2, I think it's almost an acre and a half where they want
I
to
don't
put.
have any any paperwork, so you're got me at a loss.
Okay, well, it's not about the drawing. I was looking for the wording. It said they have exclusive right to use that. My question is whether we can cross that property if they have exclusive right, or if that means we can't write another easement. I'm just looking for a definition of what they mean by exclusive.
Yeah, that's what it means only them.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was interpreting. I don't know why that's worded that way. That's the.
Well, typically with, person, they'll want exclusive right because they don't wanna have other people in their way. And, you know, there's a problem, right? If you're Versant, you don't wanna have other power lines or any other things there that might affect their ability to get in and fix the line.
Mhm.
So they typically put that in all their easements, but what you're supposed to do when you do an easement is, normally, if I give you an easement, I'll just give you an easement to make way, for example, on the driveway. But then I can still use the easement.
Well, that's the way I thought it normally was. That's why I was concerned about that, the
Right,
word
but with
exclusive.
Versant, they usually will want to include that so that they are the only ones who can get in there and cut the trees down and keep it clear so they can access it. But the problem is, what are you gonna do then everything has to go through them, vis-à-vis the, cable or anything else that, you know, depends on where the poles are going and in the future, what you proceed going from on it.
Yeah, what I'm concerned with, we've got, like, there's a screener plant that the town's got for screening gravel, and, you know, some things get stored there, being able to drive on the property and work on it, and that type of thing. And that's, I mean, my understanding is their actual transformer sits on a pad 8 feet by 8 feet. And I don't know why we need to be excluded from an acre and a half of property for
Yeah,
64
that's
square
right.
feet.
That's right, so we'll have to look at that a lot more closely. I mean, what you normally do in this circumstance, as you can imagine, and as you are pointing to, is have a further negotiation with their attorney and say
Okay.
exactly what you just said, Kevin, which is, hey, man, we don't want you to use the whole property. We're willing to give you an exclusive area to keep your line clear or to access it to repair it. But we need to use it for the purposes you suggest.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest concern. I mean, you can drive over a buried conduit, or if you can drive under aerial, I don't see we're gonna bother them, and I don't have any issues with them keeping it clear or anything like that. I just think keeping us off that property could be detrimental to our current uses.
Plus,
But think of the mindset of the Versant people. Excuse me, their natural reaction will be to just write their typical easement, which will have exclusive in there unless you do what you're
Yeah.
doing, which you point out you want something different.
Okay,
So it's probably no big deal, it's just that you just have to point that out and negotiate it out a bit more.
okay, that's,
yeah.
I'm from Versant.
Oh, you
Okay.
are, okay, yeah.
And, I'm the one that, drew up the document.
okay,
And talking to Jesse, initially, we were looking for a substation site
okay,
that, could be large enough to accommodate needs now and needs
Okay.
in the future.
okay,
So I looked in this whole area, for a substation site,
mhm,
came to the town and found out that you were working to expand your solar, and then, so what our needs are not just for that pad mount site. It's,
Okay.
we're looking to build a substation site, for the future. So, and we usually purchase and own.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
and that's what the town suggested a while ago, why
Oh, okay.
don't you buy it? And we said, well, we don't wanna take on the liability because of the landfill. So, that's, that's the reason for it.
okay,
So our plans are to use the whole site.
okay.
Not now, but future, and I'm not sure, I don't know, if you wanna have activities within that site, maybe we can work out something until we actually wanna expand.
Yeah.
If not, we probably will wanna go to a different site.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think as long as we got some access in there, and I mean, like I said, I don't, there's no big plans for anything, but it just seems like, you know, keeping us from being able to use that acre and a half of, like I say, you know, there's some equipment gets stored out there once in a while.
There's no
I was
plans
out there
now,
today.
though, there could be plans down the
Yeah.
road.
And we're
Yeah.
talking
And I don't wanna
2
jam
acres.
us up, yeah.
This is
Yeah.
1.48 acres plus another 0.59 acres, and I couldn't tell by our little description, cause I thought last time we had met about this, we'd talked about it, we wanted to ditch the 1.4 acre part and just have you know, an area that just to service the panels, not a,
How large a substation would you be talking anyway? I mean, acre and a half's still a lot of land for a substation, isn't it?
Well, it's not just the pad mount, it's the wires coming in
Yeah.
and out.
Yeah.
And we need a space large enough to bring in a portable substation if that transformer fails.
But those fit on a tractor trailer, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you're not talking something that takes up an acre and a half of space.
No,
That's-
but this
If
is,
never cleared.
because of the way that lot is shaped, and for us to get our facilities in it, we
Yeah.
normally have a square or a rectangle, and
Yeah.
that being a triangle,
Could-
does impact, we're not gonna use all of
Yeah.
it.
Could we do something like, say, we agree not to put any permanent structures on there? You know, if there was a driveway or parking area, you could still turn around in it. Something along
Yeah,
that line.
I'll have to check with them, like I said, we normally own these sites,
Mhm.
and we have liability issues.
Okay.
And also, our future plans would be a fenced site with no access.
Yeah,
And that's what, initially, that's what I was doing, was looking for a site for this
Mhm.
permanent substation.
yeah, okay.
yeah, I get you.
So,
Yeah.
I think, Mr. Chairman,
Oh, you muted yourself, James.
okay, there I am.
Start over.
We need to have some further discussion, obviously, between that representative, the person,
Yep.
me, and Jesse. Jesse being the conduit for the needs. Jesse, you've got some notes there as to what the board's looking for. We'll have some further discussion and bring this back to you when we have it more fully developed.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, James.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like, to me like there's any real conflict. I just, like I say, when I see that exclusive on a lease, you know, a $1 lease. Or easement.
And I'd like to have the rest of the board's input on, just so Jesse knows too, as far as what do you guys think about, you know, either easement 1 or easement 2 or neither or whatever. If you, do you want the map again?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
look it up. That's not what it is.
Jamie, is that part of the land that was purchased by the town is that down towards the ice rink, was that purchased a while ago? That isn't part of the Bill Carroll property, that buys it, right?
No, this is all part of the original landfill property, basically. Well, I mean, there's parts and pieces here, there's fingers that come off from it that are different sections, but I would, it's mostly the landfill property.
And if it is a rental, has there been any discussion on, you know, a rental fee, or is
I
that
think-
something in the future?
I think the biggest thing is, my input on it is that we've gotta figure out what we have for plans with this property in the future. We need to iron that out. We need to have that discussion now versus, you know, kicking it down the road just to be sure this doesn't push in on that, cause that's a lot of land, you know, it's 2 acres of land. You can fit a lot of stuff there, and if we're not gonna use it, then that's one thing, but if we have plans, then I think now's the time to discuss it. So we'll have to put that on a next agenda and go over it. Yes.
Initially, I was looking for a substation site in Southwest Harbor.
Yep.
And we identified 2 or 3 parcels in Southwest Harbor that would work for us.
Okay.
So we do have alternatives.
Okay, yep.
But I think, and I don't understand all of the town's need,
Mhm.
but this, if we locate there, understand, we save the town quite a bit of money from what they would have to do to increase our infrastructure in the area, so there really isn't there is a benefit to the town.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a good site for it. I think, you know, just being certain that we're not totally getting locked out of the property there is the biggest concern.
It is,
You know,
it is a very constrained site for us, very
Yeah.
strange shape,
yeah,
and I've seen 4 or 5 engineering plans trying to figure out, I mean, we don't have any problem doing what we need to do right now
mhm,
to accommodate,
yeah,
your needs and our needs.
mhm,
But for us to build a substation, in the future, to serve this area,
mhm,
it's really not the right shape for us.
So
okay.
why would you prefer that over the lots that you found in Southwest Harbor?
Pardon me?
Why would you prefer this lot over the lots that you found in Southwest Harbor?
Because this made sense to us too, and we thought that, we would be helping the town and helping us at the same time. We can be in any number of places.
Thank you.
So why don't we, table this and put it on the next agenda, and we should discuss future plans for that lot, and that will be step 1, I think.
I guess I have one more question for you. If you're here instead of Southwest Harbor, I mean, just you being close to the area benefits the communities in the area, right? Or how are we benefiting more from you being in our site than next door?
I'm not sure that I can answer that, and that's,
I can probably help you with that, Eric. Part of it's expanding the solar array, trying to make that available to the community locally. There were some infrastructure issues related to doing that upgrade. They were gonna be, the project was probably gonna have to cover, which might have killed the deal. Hopefully, we're gonna get some clean energy available to people in town.
Okay.
So that's, and I think this is Versant helping us work towards that. That's kind of where I think a lot of this is coming out. So, I mean, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time, because I like the idea of doing it, I just would like to clarify that part.
All right, we will discuss that next meeting. Next, we have,
Jane,
James, sorry. You are
All
free,
right, John,
you are free to go.
thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, James.
All right, next we have the broadband study. Discussion and possible approval to contract with Casco Bay Advisors for a comprehensive study. Jesse, would you like to bring us up to date on that, please?
yes, so you recently appointed, the broadband committee for the town. They had their first meeting at the end of September. There's 3 members currently, we still need 2 members, to fill the committee. They had, a member from Mount Desert's broadband committee attend their first meeting to bring them up to speed on what the town of Mount Desert has done, which has taken several years, going through their plans, and they went over their recent study they had done with Casco Bay Advisors. Casco Bay Advisors goes out and literally drives around town on the streets, taking notes of what services at each household, they can tell by the poles and the wires. And so they map what's physically here and what's not. So it's a little more comprehensive than the maps that the providers use, because they generally list a street as fully accessible if they have a couple homes on the street connected. We're still looking at funding options. There are some grants that it may qualify for. There is funding from Hancock County. They've set aside money from their ARPA funds they receive to assist communities in the county with broadband expansion. I had a Zoom with Mission Broadband, who is the consultants the county has hired to handle all of that. And he said that most of what they have awarded has been for infrastructure, but he would be more than happy to present this to the commissioners as well to see if they want to authorize funding. There's no set amount. They would want to see some contribution from the town, but it's not a set match or anything like that. It's at their discretion on what they want to authorize. Additionally, the ARPA funds that the town received, broadband was one of the specific uses identified as allowable before all the changes to the plan, but it's from the beginning, it was one of the allowable uses for the American Rescue Plan funds. So the broadband committee is meeting again this week. They're gonna talk with Brian from Casco Bay Advisors. He gave us the same proposal that they did for Mount Desert, same price, $9,800. And he's gonna attend their meeting as well as a representative from the Maine Connectivity Authority. It all changes pretty rapidly with broadband, so even since doing this packet, we may not want to contract with them, but we may. It'll depend on the next meeting. There's a deadline at the end of the month for a grant from Maine Connectivity Authority. So, bringing it to you for discussion and consideration.
Okay, thanks.
And just to be clear, the broadband committee, those current members recommended going ahead with this study.
Yes.
So $9,800 gives us a study,
Yeah.
so they'll come back and tell us we have lousy internet in Tremont for $9,800. Am I getting it right?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes I gotta dumb it down, so I get
It's
it.
it's the basis for then working with all the, reaching out to Spectrum and bidding fiber, and it's telling them this is what we need to bring it up to 100%. What are you willing to provide? What are you willing to upgrade? What expenses are you willing to cover? They usually negotiate with, they usually don't offer to pay for the full thing. It depends on how much is needed to build. Casco Bay would, at the next step, would estimate basically the cost per household to upgrade the town, the full broadband. There's a lot involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And the ARPA funds, I think we've got over 70,000 left in there
Yeah.
unspoken for,
There's
so.
at least 50 that's not.
Okay.
Peter?
Jamie, Jesse, can you, I mean, broadband, I'm brain dead when it comes to internet and Wi-Fi and all that stuff. As far as the broadband, are they, what's the object? Are they trying to get places that doesn't have internet, or that can't get Wi-Fi
Right.
into
it's-
these, but, I mean,
Right,
I don't.
broadband is fiber, it's the fastest internet, but it would look at the areas that are lacking service altogether and upgrading them to broadband, and the areas that are lacking good internet to broadband. The goal of all of it is to have 100% broadband for the entire community.
But that's, I mean, cause people can get Wi-Fi over their regular phone if they've got a landline, right?
I
They
think
can get
what,
Wi-Fi, or if they've got satellite, they can get
Right.
internet off the
Yes.
satellite.
It's not very good though, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
what this is, like, I used to have, it always stopped, I don't know if it does still, but it would stop at like Brian Gordy's house, right there was the end of broadband, so beyond that, you couldn't get, you know, it was horrible internet unless you got, cable internet, that's the only way around it. Still, I don't think you can get, to my knowledge, you can't get anything, you know, anything else besides cable, anywheres from there up, and I know there's other spots as you go up through Tremont that stop and you can't get, you know, internet. You're locked into just buying cable internet.
So this is a study that the town is gonna take and add money into to figure out
Yeah.
where it doesn't go to.
Yeah, and I think
You've already
they,
sold half that goes to Brian Gordy's.
yeah,
Rest,
yeah.
I mean, you didn't charge anything for
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Right,
bill,
yeah.
the check's in the mail, right?
I mean,
Yeah. No, I think like what Jesse just said, I think they, try to get the companies to push it out further so that they can, I believe is what you're saying, they go into negotiations with them, try to get them to cover the whole town.
Right, so
The-
Mount Desert is at the next step with Casco Bay, where he worked with Spectrum and, he's still working with the other one. But he brought a proposal to Mount Desert at their last committee meeting. This is what Spectrum is gonna offer for the next, couple of years of upgrades.
And that was part of this amount of money, or that's another bill?
It's another, yeah.
I think part of what is going on is, good internet broadband connections are gonna be more and more critical to businesses, to people working at home, to everything.
Safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything you're doing requires more bandwidth than it used to, and it's gonna be one of those critical, utilities that it's really difficult not to have. And the standard for what's acceptable keeps getting moved higher because of so much more information being on there. And this study not only studies who's got it, it studies what capacity is there now, what could stand some serious upgrading. That's my understanding of it.
my wife tells me I gotta have a landline so that she can have a Wi-Fi, but they keep calling steady with wanting me to get into the who are you gonna vote for this year? Or your car warranties up or whatever. I keep telling her the hell with the internet.
You can't block those, Peter.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so we do this, let's say we do the study, then what happens? They come back and tell you which roads,
Right, so they
They
do,
map it.
they do a field audit, and then they do mapping, and then they bring back, they do recommendations and report, and then a presentation, to town representatives, and then, the next step, if you move forward, is they also offer franchise agreement negotiations,
Another small fee.
engineering, pole data collection.
so if it's decided my house has lousy internet, what happens? Like, how do I get good internet? I mean, I have fine internet at my house, I'm just using my house as an example.
Yeah.
Right, so the town would have to continue the discussion with,
And then the town's gonna be responsible for getting everybody, paying for everybody's good internet? I'm just trying to get my
No.
head wrapped, no, okay.
It's so, I mean, I think that was one of the things with the broadband committee, when Mount Desert presented, she said that their estimate to bring Mount Desert up to 100% broadband was like $5.6 million.
Mm.
And so our committee was like,
Yeah.
what the heck are we doing?
Yeah.
But there's, federal and state
Okay.
and spectrum. And
Well, and part of it, the carriers are obligated to provide decent service.
Right.
Their obligation can vary. Basically, it's a point to negotiate with. I used to
Right.
work in that industry some, and it gives you a point. Say, look, this is what the problems are. This is how they solve. Sometimes town will kick in some money to build it out.
Right.
Sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes you can get a competing carrier that will do it.
Right.
So I mean, it gives you some room to negotiate
Right.
all this.
And
It's not gonna.
Lemoyne is doing, I wanna say, he said it was in the $200,000 range to finish Lemoyne. So that's coming from the county and their ARPA funds. Trenton, depends what
Okay.
the,
What they say.
Yeah.
And
And
the
if
big
we
thing
can-
is all the communities are doing this. Like,
Yep.
this
I mean, we
is
kinda
happening.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is happening.
And the biggest thing is to get someone like that that knows what they're doing and they can go negotiate for us and try to get them, try to get the companies to pitch in as much as they can.
Yeah, and what I see out of this is, our comprehensive committee is not gonna map this out. Nothing's gonna happen if we don't hire these people, unfortunately.
okay. Correct.
And to have someone map it all out and the presentation to everyone else is done.
Mhm.
That's pretty important
Yep.
to get anything done. Whether we move forward, how fast we move forward in the future with
Right.
what we wanna put into it and what grants we get and whatever, we can deal with that. And maybe use our ARPA money that we got to pay for this, so it's not coming out of the town's money.
What committee money?
ARPA money.
Oh, ABBA, I think you said ABBA. That's why I have big money now, I was say, I'm on that committee, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
ARPA committee money.
ABBA. Sorry, that's that. Nervous.
All right.
What do you think? I don't. Speak.
I think you have to do the study to get anything out of it. Yeah.
I know. It's about the presentation, I guess.
Yep.
I make a motion to authorize the town manager to contract with Casco Bay Advisors in the amount of $9,800 and to apply for grant funding for this expense.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize the town manager to contract with Casco Bay Advisors in the amount of $9,800 and to apply for grant funding for this expense. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, next we have, fossil fuel litigation. That's all you, Jesse.
He's like, thanks.
So I'll give a brief overview and then, Kevin can add comments. He's on the sustainability committee, as you know. But the Center for Climate Integrity has been presenting, to the area towns, about joining a litigation effort against fossil fuel companies to hold them responsible for climate crisis, that they believe they have caused. The town council in Bar Harbor and Mount Desert have been presented to and are interested. I don't believe, as far as I know, anybody's officially made a
Not that I'm aware of.
action. Then it was brought to the League of Towns, at their meeting last month on Swans Island, to see if perhaps the League of Towns wanted to be, a plaintiff in such a case. It was apparent the full league did not want to, but any towns that do would be, welcomed to do it together. If Bar Harbor and Mount Desert choose to do so, they'll do it jointly, it sounds like. And so it was also presented to, Tremont Sustainability Committee, and they made a motion to forward it on to the select board for consideration.
So this would be to, correct me if I'm wrong, you would sue fossil fuel companies for what they have done to the environment, basically, a summary.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just
basically.
If you wanna add any.
Yeah, it's to hold them responsible for their part and what they've done. It's similar to, tobacco, the big tobacco lawsuits and the settlement that they had against Volkswagen. This group's, putting together the background. It's all done on a contingency basis, so there's no money out from the town. The attorneys only get paid if they have a settlement. And, there's all kinds of documentation that they knew what was going on and fought to, to,
So does that mean fuel
to-
goes up another 50 cents a gallon?
more than
pay
today.
for the litigation and all the rest of the bullshit.
I doubt it, but I know it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But,
The poor people always get the end of that shit.
you know,
Especially
If
the
it-
diesel trucks.
Yeah,
Especially the
diesel
diesel
trucks.
trucks.
They don't figure out the food comes with diesels. They think everything's gonna be electric, and it's gonna be a long time, and that's very dangerous. The minute you rupture one of them batteries, little water, they blow to shit, they'll burn. Well, I think it's gonna be a long time before that's straightened out. They wanna do something for the environment, go to China and clean the fucking mess up over there, so we don't get the air pollution over here. That would be something you could do, but this bullshit, shutting the diesel for people trying to feed their families, and that bullshit pisses me off. That's bullshit. Another bunch of shit.
Alright.
I just add that they're in discussions of whether or not there'd be a cost to the towns. There would be some hours involved in town staff providing, supplying information to the attorneys. Basically, the towns would be seeking reimbursement for anything that the towns have paid in regards to climate or sustainability issues that would have been, believed to have been caused by this. So there would be potential staff time for that.
I don't think it's a great idea.
I think it's a
No.
terrible idea,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, I'm not into it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can do it, I mean, with the tobacco, I mean, nobody forced you to smoke. It is what it is, but I mean, with vehicles, I mean, you're driving electric, but yes, you're taking probably, it's not running off a windmill, it's not running off a solar panel, it's probably a generator somewhere that's using fossil fuel, that's
It
charging your vehicle
it
and stuff.
actually is being charged by solar
So-
panels.
You get
I mean,
caught out
I'm
on the road,
using-
get caught out on the road, you're gonna have to have a generator, probably gas powered to charge your car back so you can get on the road again.
I mean, I'm still using fuel and everything, but, I mean, nobody's twisting my arm to do it, wouldn't hurt me to walk. But, I mean,
None of us.
I just don't understand, I mean, it's all climate is, you know, the problem with climate is population. And you're not gonna do anything about that.
There's a lot of evidence, they knew what was going on and they could have done better, Peter.
So if they win, it all goes away, and then we're stuck with wind or solar or,
No, it's,
Stuck with $6
It's
diesel
not,
fuel.
it's not gonna
$6
solve,
diesel
it's
fuel,
not
it's
gonna
stuck with
solve
it.
this thing.
Hang on just a sec. Ben had his hand
What
raised.
I was gonna say is, with as many combustion engines vehicles as Kevin has, I think he ought to be part of this lawsuit.
I'm whittling him down, Ben.
I didn't elect my selectmen to do this.
No.
I think we should concentrate on town affairs and town business. Fossil fuels are gonna be here for a while until it gets feasible, or economically feasible for the wind power and, or hopefully for fusion reactors, so then it will be really cheap. But the climate scientists, a smart man once said, in questions of science, the authority of 1,000 is not worth the humble reasoning of a single individual. And these climate scientists will pick data to present their case. There's 32 models that they've come up with, different organizations for this climate. There's not one of them that's come within the 4 rows of assholes of being correct. So, you know, until we get a model that says, yes, this is definitely happening, I don't think we ought to go off and start suing the fuel companies to provide us with that heat and electricity until we can assure what's actually happening.
I bet.
This
Well
climate
said.
science, it's almost like a religion, and if you say anything against it, oh my God, you're a denier. And they don't have the evidence, if you look at it, to present, that proves their case.
Well, I respectfully disagree with you on that one, Ben. I think there's a lot of evidence.
If
Yeah.
you cherry pick it, yeah, there is,
Yeah, we disagree on that one.
yeah.
I've actually had a good chance over the last month to get a crash course in windmills, as you can imagine, with all the lobster and stuff going on, and there's a lot more to that as well. You know, it looks good in the beginning. You know, there are a lot of things that are not that are not compensated for, that are not you know, the life expectancy, what's going on with them when they're left out there and no longer used, and there's a lot of things, yes. So. Yeah, okay.
Do you need a motion?
Only if you want to.
Oh, didn't you?
I'll just say, would someone like to make a motion then? Okay, hearing no motion, I will move on. Next, we have the heating assistance program. We've worked on this over the last couple meetings. Jesse has kind of fine-tuned it a little bit.
Yes, so at your last meeting, you gave me the go-ahead to draft up, a draft policy. So that's in your packet. It was, I went ahead and modified, the one that Lemoyne used. It goes over, several things that you discussed, such as not using taxpayer funds, paying the suppliers directly, and the select board overseeing the program. The way I've put that in the policy is that when an application is received, and found to be eligible, then myself and 2 select board members would meet either in person or virtually to go over the application and recommend approving it or not. If it required coming to the full select board, that would kind of defeat the purpose of the emergency nature of the program. The full board would obviously still approve the funds on the warrant being paid to the supplier.
That should be the chair and the co-chair, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't specify.
But that,
You,
I think that's where.
yeah. And when 2 is obviously 3 would be
And I think, so this is set up, I just wanna be clear to people who haven't heard so far, we're setting up a heating assistance program that would directly affect, Tremont residents. If someone is in, you know, dire need of some heating oil, heating assistance, it would be under Jesse's discretion, along with, like you said now, there'll be 2 select board members to give immediate help to someone. This will not be coming out of taxpayers' money for now, just kinda starting out. We're kinda hoping that businesses will chip in a little bit around town and, maybe, you know, just get a small fund started and see how it works, so.
And it's also, one of the eligibility criteria here is, if someone has applied and been turned down for a third-party organization to give them assistance.
right.
Because
So-
we donate to multiple third-party organizations for
Right.
this.
So it would be those that have applied either for general assistance and our third party. That would be what would go over first. And if they haven't received that for some reason, whether it be they're out of funds or they're not within the qualified window, or if they don't qualify, the general assistance can be pretty stringent.
Because
from the state.
currently, there are people that are outside of the window that the
Correct.
third party
Correct.
begins.
Right, so,
Helping.
the most common one is, Campfire Coalition, through Harbor House. They, normally only accept applications after November 1st. This year, due to the increased need, and calls they've been getting, they actually moved it up to today. But we were receiving calls 2 weeks ago, so that those still didn't meet that window. The third-party organizations that the town donates to, they all operate on their own set of there are, you know, cases where with other organizations, our residents have been told they were out of funds. There's no set requirement that they reserve those funds specifically for Tremont residents. It just goes in the general fund, so to speak.
So this kind of catches the people that sort of fall through the other cracks that don't qualify for other programs. We can kind of. I'm hoping it kind of gets a, excuse me, kind of gets a foothold and works well, and then not to, you know, I know a lot of these other organizations do a great job, but it's just, it'd be nice to know that every penny that's going in there is staying right in town for people who need it in town, and that would be, you know, that's, I guess, my goal out of that would. Yes, Peter?
Jamie, I know, you know, there's 3 or 4 of us in here that are in the MDI Lions Club and stuff, and what we do and stuff, and, I mean, we set aside some money, and I know what the town, I mean, the budget and stuff, everything's tight and stuff, but I mean, isn't there some, I know, you know, you guys are talking about what you've taken in, property taxes and stuff, and, I mean, is there some grant that the town can get, or is there something that can be, I mean, I feel for these older people, the people that don't have it, some of them are too embarrassed to come forward and stuff. I know there's a WHCA or whatever, I don't know whether it is, could be the YMCA, I don't know. But I mean, in Ellsworth, it does provide oil and stuff for this, but I mean, I like, you know, the townspeople are against businesses in town as it starts with, or having more business, and you're saying going to the businesses, but is there something that the town can come up with and say, hey, you know, we're gonna take and put X amount of dollars into a thing, and when somebody comes into the town manager, because I mean, I disagree with the whole board, I mean, I know you all, I trust you all and everything, but due to HIPAA, rules, regulations, all that stuff, you know, all somebody's gotta do is mumble a name and somebody's gonna be, I mean, I'd love to see Jesse and maybe one person possibly, or just Jesse, be in charge of it. And his scrutiny, he is the town manager, he's in here. And be able to give him the control of it, and be able to say, hey, you know, yes, the town is allowing, you know, I can take and fill your oil barrel, or I can give you $500 towards your oil. And it's gonna, you know, there is a grant or is some taxpayers' money, I mean.
And we discussed this at our last meeting, and it was, everybody wanted to start without using taxpayers' money, just to see where it went. Also, I think another idea, something I've thought of in the meantime, was a match, you know, to get people to do it. If you know, Doug Gott and Sons says that we'll give $500, then the town of Tremont could match it with $500 and do something like that to give incentive for a company to do it.
And we actually just approved something very similar
That
to
would be something.
what you're already talking about, Peter. We just approved another program similar to that a couple meetings ago.
Yeah.
Because it is, it's gonna come down to it, because these people are gonna be deciding whether they're gonna eat peanut butter or snowball soup, or whether they're gonna pay for the heating oil and the toilet paper. I mean, it is gonna come down to it, and it's that day and age, you know, that it's not, oil's not gonna get any cheaper.
Especially if that's when.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we don't stop pumping our own oil, we're gonna be.
I was gonna add that the program, as it is set up, would be, utilize grant funds if we identify grants that would be available for it. And as far as town funds, we can certainly look at when we do this upcoming budget, whether or not, I have in my notes to look into our general assistance fund and see if we're restricted specifically to using the money in that for the state general assistance, or if we can increase those funds for town-specific general assistance. So I'll have more info for you on that as we go through the budget.
I think too, if we go through this year with it, we'll have an idea of you know, approximate amount of money that we need to be looking for, you know, that's a good operating fund for this. And we have money available with our ARPA fund still to put into this for this year, is kind of what we're thinking, right?
That's up to you.
No, we weren't,
We weren't.
I think we weren't, at the last meeting I came away with, we weren't
Yeah.
looking to put any money.
Would
What
you
was
send
the?
out letters? Would you guys send out, like,
I would probably start by reaching out to the chamber and let the
Okay.
chamber
You will?
handle it.
yeah.
So it's not necessarily specifically us taking the calls.
1,000 years ago, when Wayne Park passed away, it wasn't really a scholarship, but it was when he passed away, people donated or gave, and there was a fund set up here, and that money sat there. I feel like the auditors years ago probably made that go away. Maybe we can check and see, and it had a funny name, I can't remember what the name of it was. But it was used for, like, I remember when I was the clerk, there was a family who didn't have a bed for their kids to sleep on, so it bought like air mattresses. It wasn't like, you know, it didn't solve the problem, but it made it better.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably gone by now, but
I can check with
I feel like they might have said. Yeah.
What was the program you were referring to that we
It
just
was
passed?
more, the longer term, you know, efficient, making the house
Oh, yeah,
better,
okay,
so
yeah, I
like
got
tightening
you,
the
yeah,
house.
I was just thinking I didn't
Yeah.
wanna duplicate something, I was trying to think of what
No,
was,
it
but-
was
Yep.
more for that. The other thing I keep thinking of is electricity is going up like crazy too, and maybe it shouldn't be restricted just to heat. It'd be nice to be able to keep the lights on. I mean, there's another raise, and they're talking about the supply side of it with, so much of the heat, the electricity being generated by, natural gas, and that's way up, so maybe it should expand.
So maybe add.
Yeah, add electric bills, you know, not just solely electrical heating, but
Okay.
whatever.
I would call it, yeah, if it was utility, I just wouldn't wanna get into like food and stuff like that,
No,
you know,
no,
there's
but
separate,
yeah.
I
There's
like
different stuff for that.
to heat your,
Heating is
Yeah.
your primary.
yeah. Doesn't matter if it's a cord of wood or
Hard,
if
hard
it's,
to keep your furnace going if your electricity's out.
yeah.
Boy, I'll take you on that one.
Peter,
Brought my attention, somebody sitting over there. I'll take in, under Dugout and Sons, Got Brothers, I'll match you, Kevin. You might go
And I'll match 500 too.
Yeah.
500
You'll match what?
for the
That's
town,
town.
for the
Yeah.
town,
That town
for the
puts it
heating
500,
thing, we
we
might
do
as well get
5.
it started right now.
yeah.
If that's what you're looking for, will you put 500 with us?
Yeah, I'll do that.
I'll drop a check off tomorrow. Thank you.
I think we gotta set it up first. You might wanna wait a day or two.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just trying,
Yeah.
you wanna get a start on it, so.
Yeah.
I'm willing
Is
to-
this,
Yeah.
That check's good for 90 days. so you can-
Yeah.
do you guys think it would be a good idea to do a match, with ARPA funds, just put a cap on it, but just to get it started, maybe to get some,
Well, I think if businesses are willing to do it, if they're gonna get matched.
That's what,
yeah.
Mike
That's
and
what
I
we
was
just
just
said.
nodding,
Yeah.
that's what we were talking.
I donate 500 from MDI property maintenance, if
Right,
the
we
town
just-
donates
Yeah.
500 to it as
Well,
well.
that's what we're
With the
talking about.
town
We need
matching, and that's sort of why I was putting it to Kevin,
to,
being
right, we
wise
just,
guy to.
Well, the town won't match it because we're trying to do it without taxpaying funds.
Yeah.
And I did get the wise guy part, Peter. I picked right up on that one.
Yeah,
no, we just gotta figure out where we can match it from, and that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
and that's what I mentioned, the ARPA funds, that's what I was just
Yeah.
wondering, can you just here, no?
If I donate 500 to the town, could they use that for the town's contribution?
Yeah.
Never know.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll donate 500.
you will?
Wow,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ben.
Anybody else?
No, but that's what we need, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
That's what if we can possibly, I know for Jesse, it's easy for me to say, let's just match it, but I know he needs to crunch his numbers and be able to do whatever he needs to do, pull it from wherever. But if we can match it, to people doing that, then that's
Yeah.
greatly that's exactly what we want, and that will,
Yeah, the only problem with it is we set it up specifically not to be town money.
yeah, no,
I mean, that's,
So that's grant money.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it said non-taxpayer money, so you're probably right. As long as
Yeah.
it's grant money, I think you're okay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's the way it was originally set.
do you
So
think
that
that
was
is a
part of it.
possibility, Jesse, and not trying to put you on the spot, but do you think that we could use, just so if you needed any approval now, ARPA funds with a cap of up to like $3,000 or something?
I'd have to do some research on it, but you
Okay.
can authorize it pending that's okay
Okay.
when I do the research. It just has to be a normal governmental expense, so
I
I
mean,
just have to.
the great thing is if you can, because you just put $4,000
Yeah.
per se into keeping people warm in Tremont.
Yes, yeah.
Or the lights on, or what have you. I mean,
Yeah,
I just,
it's-
no.
What if we put, to do a, let's say, a match by the town ARPA funds,
Cost me money coming down,
with
Come
a,
more often, Peter.
with a maximum cap of $5,000
I know, I think.
of,
we're gonna
you know,
wait for a
total
cap to
use
see
of-
whatever Jesse says we can spend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just mean like, he said just make a motion and then he would,
Check
check it, yeah. So if we just did a cap, so if there's a cap of $5,000, from the town match, using ARPA funds for a maximum use of $5,000, yeah,
Provided it's a legal line.
yeah, provided it's a legal use. Use to be determined by town manager.
I make a motion what Jamie just said.
Okay,
Second. Right,
that sound
I'll
good,
go
Jesse?
scribbling over
right.
it.
He's got it written
He's got a lot
down.
of, yeah,
He's got it written down.
I just need to know if you're adopting it as amended, you including
Yes.
amended.
Yes, yeah, we would, so it's been moved and seconded to adopt and sign the discretionary, heating assistance program as amended to include, if possible, or yeah, to include utility and take out the word heating. And also, if possible, to be determined by town manager, a match by town ARPA funds, for a maximum of $5,000 to be matched with any local business who or anyone, not just a business, but anyone who would like to donate. Okay, sound good?
Moved it, who seconded?
The only,
Mackenzie and Howdy. Okay, discussion, okay.
the word utility, I'm not sure I want to, cable TV usually falls into that.
Okay,
I'd rather keep it electricity.
So it
That's-
needs
Okay, yep.
electricity,
So
yeah.
let's say
Yeah.
heating,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay, so can we say heating/electric? Okay,
Yeah, that's, you
Yep.
know.
okay, everybody's good with that? All those in favor? Okay, and thank you guys, that's what we're.
Appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, I know, that's what it's all about, hopefully we can, help some people who need it in town. All right, last thing on the agenda is, sick leave transfer. We have a request from bookkeeper Jan Sprague, to seek sick time donations from other members of the town staff.
I'll make a motion to authorize the transfer of sick leave from those willing town employees to Janice Sprague sick leave bank.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the transfer of sick leave for those willing town employees to Jan Sprague, sick leave bank. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? And this is where I added in the executive session, if that's all right. Do you have a title for us to read, or?
I do.
Okay,
I'll bring it Who sent it?
Mackenzie. She already said she would have. Yeah.
Howdy, send me a text to remind me tomorrow. I'll get that.
He said 1,000, Howdy. I'll tell Timmy he said 1,000.
And you said 500 for Rich's boat yet?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought I heard that too.
Yeah. You do 1,000, I'll do 500. You and Timmy, but
Match me.
there's 3 of you.
Match me.
No?
Match me.
I'll make a motion to public discussion of these personnel matters could be reasonably expected to
Thanks,
cause
Kevin.
damage to the employee's reputation and or to violate the employee's
Think of
privacy
what was
rights,
being
and
called
therefore to go into executive session to discuss the employment, appointment, assignment, duties, promotion, demotion, compensation, evaluation, disciplining, resignation, and or dismissal of an individual or groups of public officials, appointees, or employees as permitted by MRSA 405.6.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session as read by Mackenzie, entitled Employment Matters. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, we are now out of executive session. Next is the town manager's report.
All right. In the last 2 weeks, I checked in on the comp plan workshop that they had on October 4th. Attended MMA convention in Bangor 2 days. Prepared the financial reports. Had a general assistance appointment. Did a public works interview. We have hired a replacement for Mike. He started today. His name's Corey. I had a Zoom meeting with Mission Broadband, finished workers' comp audit, drafted the heating assistance program, meeting preparation, and assisted the auditors when they were here last week to begin the audit for FY '22. The office staff was busy with your motor vehicle reports. The clerk assisted me with the general assistance appointment, assisting the auditors when they were here, processing absentee ballot requests and posting absentee information around town. Typed up the Board of Selectmen minutes. Did committee updates on the website and prepared oaths for new committee members, and they've been answering tons of questions, handing out applications for the senior tax stabilization program the state started. Public Works patched potholes on Seal Cove Road, clean up on Cape Road, filled potholes on Dodge Point Road, cleaned the cross pipe on Cape Road. Truck 1 was towed to Ellsworth for repairs. It's gonna be somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000. It's new air cans, air lines, tire, engine, to get it legal. Once that comes back, truck 2 will go up for its inspection. Not aware of any issues with it.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah.
No whammies.
Mowed the town office, swept the driveway with a new broom. Truck 6, the new truck went to Bangor to get the plow setup put on it. Checked roads, Hammond Lumber run for wood for the new sideboards on truck 6. Got patched Rice Road, south end of Clark Point, Kellytown, and Seal Cove. Truck 6 came back from Bangor, attended the Public Works interview, and installed the sideboards and decals on truck 6. Harbor Master dealt with an injured deer down on the wharf. New mooring was set in Seal Cove, or assigned in Seal Cove. Trash run, parking lot cleanup, cleaned up all the oil buckets, brought them here to Public Works. Helped with the sideboards and stickers on truck 6, had some wharf permit meetings, emailed Versant regarding the cable lay out of Swans Island, updated permit spreadsheets, and cleaned up the Seal Cove ramp. Over the next few weeks, I'll be attending this month's League of Towns, FY '24 budget work, and beginning annual performance evaluations.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Suggestions for the next meeting? Date of the next meeting?
motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, November 14th, 2022 at 5:00 PM in the town office.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, November 14th, 2022, 5 PM in the town office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? There.